Naela's hands trembled as she clutched the parchment, the ink still wet from where she had signed her name. 1 year of her life in exchange for her sister's freedom. The hooded stranger across from her, tall, imposing, with eyes that seemed to glow amber in the firelight, extended his hand. "The contract is sealed," he said, his voice both commanding and strangely gentle. "You are now my wife, Naela. And I promise you your sister will walk free by week's end." Behind him, the castle loomed in shadow, its towers reaching into a storm-dark sky where lightning flickered but made no sound. She had no idea that the man she'd just married was not entirely human, that ancient magic coursed through his veins, or that her signature on that parchment had bound her to a curse older than the kingdom itself. She only knew that Talia would live. And for that she would face whatever darkness waited within those stone walls. The stranger's hand was warm when she finally took it, but she could have sworn she felt claws beneath his skin. Before we dive into Naela's journey, if you love werewolf romance stories filled with impossible choices, curses and love that defies destiny, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. I want to hear from you. Would you accept a contract marriage to save someone you love, even if it meant entering a world of secrets and danger? Drop your answer in the comments below along with the city you're watching from, because we love seeing our pack expand across the globe. Now, let's find out what happens when a woman who doesn't believe in fate becomes the only one who can break an ancient curse. The church bells tolled 3 times, each clang a hammer against Naela's chest. She stood in the crowded village square, her fingers digging into the rough wool of her skirt as she watched the tribunal drag her sister toward the platform. Talia's face was pale, her dark hair matted with dirt from the cell where they'd kept her for 3 days. At 16 she looked even younger, a child playing at being brave when terror danced in her eyes. "Talia of Ashford," the bishop intoned, his voice carrying across the silent crowd, "you stand accused of witchcraft. The evidence against you is clear. Young Thomas was dying of fever until you administered your potions. Such unnatural healing can only come from dark forces." Naela wanted to scream. Talia had used willow bark and feverfew herbs their mother had taught them both before the plague took her. There was no magic in it, only knowledge passed down through generations. But knowledge in the hands of a woman was dangerous. Knowledge in the hands of a woman who had refused the advances of Lord Cadogan's eldest son was a death sentence. "The tribunal finds you guilty," the bishop continued. "You will burn at the stake 7 days hence, so that your soul might be cleansed by holy fire." The world tilted. Naela pushed through the crowd, desperate, her voice raw. "Please. She's innocent. I can prove it, I know the same remedies. If she's a witch, then so am I." A guard's hand caught her arm, yanking her back. "Careful, girl. Or you'll join her." Talia's eyes found hers across the square. "Don't," her sister mouthed. Naela's heart shattered into pieces sharp enough to draw blood. That night, Naela exhausted every option. The local magistrate wouldn't see her. The priest turned her away. She had no coin for bribes, no husband to speak on her behalf, no connections to the nobility. Women like her, orphaned, poor, unmarried, had no voice in the kingdom's eyes. She was invisible until she became inconvenient, and then she was disposed of. She sat in the corner of the tavern where she worked, her apron still dirty from the evening's service, tears drying salt tracks on her cheeks. 7 days. In 7 days her sister would die screaming, and there was nothing she could do. "You look like a woman in need of a bargain." The voice came from behind her, smooth and low, with an accent she couldn't place. Naela turned to find a man seated in the shadows, a hood pulled low over his face. What she could see of him suggested nobility. Fine leather gloves, a cloak lined with fur, a signet ring that caught the firelight. "I don't have anything worth bargaining," she said bitterly. "I think you do." He leaned forward and the firelight caught his eyes. They were amber, bright and inhuman like a wolf's. Naela's breath caught. "I know about your sister. I know you have 6 days left to save her. And I know you would do anything, anything at all, to keep her from the pyre. Who are you?" "Call me Deryth." He pulled a rolled parchment from his cloak and laid it on the table between them. "I am the Lord of the Northern Territories. I have treaties with the Crown, alliances with the Church. 1 word from me and your sister walks free. She'll be sent to a convent, safe and cared for, far from Lord Cadogan's reach." Naela's hands shook as she reached for the parchment. "Why would you help me? What do you want in return?" Marriage. The word hung in the air between them like smoke. A contract marriage, to be precise. 1 year as my wife. You'll live in my castle, attend social functions at my side, play the role of devoted spouse. At the end of the year, I'll grant you an annulment and a dowry substantial enough to ensure your independence. You'll never want for anything again. It was too good. Too convenient. Naela had learned long ago that when something seemed impossible, it usually was. Why me? You're a lord. You could have any woman. I need a wife who understands that marriage is a transaction, not a fairy tale. His voice carried an edge of something dark, something wounded. I need someone who won't expect love or romance. Someone practical. Someone who knows the world is cruel and bargains are all we have. She studied him, this stranger offering salvation with strings attached. There had to be a catch. Men like him didn't help women like her out of kindness. But what choice did she have? Talia would burn. Every other door had closed. If I refuse? Your sister dies. You continue working in this tavern until you're too old or too sick, and then you die too, unmourned and forgotten. That's not a threat, Naela. It's simply the truth of the world we live in. He was right. He hated that he was right. She unrolled the parchment, squinting at the formal script in the dim light. The terms were exactly as he'd stated. 1 year of marriage in exchange for Talia's freedom and a future dowry. There were clauses about comportment and public appearances, expectations of discretion and loyalty. But nothing about love. Nothing about affection. It was as cold and transactional as a grain sale. I'll need proof, she said. Proof that Talia is safe before I agree to anything. Deryth smiled, and there was something sharp about it, something that didn't quite fit his human face. Smart girl. 3 days. I'll have your sister released to the Sisters of St. Agatha by week's end. You have my word. The word of a stranger means nothing. Then come with me now. Marry me tonight. I'll send the order for her release at dawn. You'll see her freed with your own eyes before we depart for the north. Naela's mind raced. It was madness. But it was also Talia's only chance. He picked up the quill he offered. Chapter 2. The wedding took place in a small chapel at the edge of the village, officiated by a priest who asked no questions when Deryth pressed gold into his palm. Naela wore the same rough dress she'd worn all day, her hands scrubbed clean but her hair still smelling of kitchen smoke. There were no flowers, no music, no celebration. Just words spoken in monotone, a ring slipped onto her finger, heavy silver that felt cold against her skin, and a contract signed by witnesses she didn't know. Deryth's hand was steady when he took hers. Hers shook like leaves in a storm. You may kiss your bride, the priest said, but Deryth merely nodded to her, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than affection. Tomorrow, he said quietly. I'll keep my promise. That night Naela couldn't sleep. She lay in the small room at the inn where Deryth had secured lodgings, staring at the ceiling beams and wondering what she'd done. She was married now. Bound to a man she didn't know, whose eyes glowed like an animal's, whose presence made the air around him feel charged with something she couldn't name. But when dawn broke and Deryth came to her door, he brought news that made everything worth it. It's done, he said. Your sister is being released as we speak. The tribunal has been overruled by the bishop himself. My family has made generous donations to the church over the years. They tend to be accommodating. Naela didn't wait for permission. She ran through the village streets, her borrowed cloak flying behind her, until she reached the church where Talia was being held. The guard stepped aside at Deryth's approach. He'd followed her at a distance. And then Talia was there, thin and frightened but alive. Naela. Talia threw herself into her sister's arms, sobbing. They said I was being released, but I didn't understand why. I thought it was a trick. It's real. Naela held her tight enough to bruise, breathing in the familiar scent of her sister's hair. You're safe now. You're going to the convent at St. Agatha. You'll be protected there. I promise. But how? What did you do? Naela pulled back, cupping Talia's face in her hands. What I had to. Don't worry about me. Just promise you'll be safe. Promise you'll learn and grow and have the life I always wanted for you. Talia's eyes, so like their mother's, searched hers. You're leaving. I have to. For how long? A year. Felt like a lifetime. Just a year. And then I'll come find you. She didn't tell Talia about the marriage. Didn't explain about Deryth or the contract or the bargain she'd struck. Her sister was free. That was all that mattered. The journey north took 3 days on horseback. Naela had never ridden before, and her body ached in ways she hadn't known possible. Deryth rode beside her, silent and watchful, occasionally offering her water or asking if she needed to rest. He was courteous but distant, a stranger performing the role of husband without any of the intimacy it implied. The landscape changed as they traveled. The open farmland gave way to dense forest, the trees growing taller and darker until the canopy blocked out most of the sun. The road narrowed to little more than a path, and Naela saw no other travelers. It was as if they'd left the human world behind entirely. "These are my lands," Deryth said on the third day, the first full sentence he'd spoken in hours. "Everything beyond this marker belongs to the Northern Territories." Naela saw no marker, just more trees and shadows. But she felt something shift, a change in the air that made her skin prickle. How far to the castle? Another hour. When they finally emerged from the forest, Naela's breath caught. The castle rose from the landscape like something out of a legend, all dark stone and soaring towers, surrounded by walls thick enough to withstand a siege. It was beautiful and terrible at once, a fortress built to keep the world out, or something in. "Welcome home," Deryth said, but there was no warmth in the words. The castle's interior was warmer than she'd expected, fires burning in every hearth, tapestries covering the stone walls. Servants appeared as if summoned by thought alone, taking Naela's meager belongings and leading her through hallways that seemed to stretch endlessly. She caught glimpses of other people, men and women who moved with a grace that seemed almost inhuman, who watched her with eyes that reflected the torchlight strangely. "Your chambers," Deryth said, stopping before an ornate door. "They connect to mine through that door there, but I won't enter without permission. You have my word." The rooms were larger than her entire childhood home. A 4-poster bed dominated the space, piled with furs and silk. There was a writing desk, a wardrobe already filled with dresses in her size, a window overlooking the forest. "How did you know?" she asked, touching one of the dresses. "My size, I mean. I'm observant." He stood in the doorway, not entering. "Tomorrow I'll introduce you to the household staff. You'll need to learn the castle's layout, understand your duties as lady of the house. But tonight rest. You've had a long journey." "Deryth." The name felt strange on her tongue. "Why did you really marry me?" For a long moment he said nothing. Then, "Because I'm running out of time, and you were the only person desperate enough to say yes without asking too many questions." Running out of time for what? But he was already closing the door, leaving her alone in a room too large and too fine for someone like her. Naela stood in the center of it all, feeling the weight of the ring on her finger, and wondered what she'd really agreed to. Outside, wolves began to howl. Chapter 3. Naela spent the first 3 days exploring the castle like a mouse in a maze, learning the corridors and staircases, the great hall where meals were served, the library that smelled of leather and dust. The servants were polite but distant, calling her "my lady," with careful respect that felt more like wariness. She caught them whispering when they thought she couldn't hear, stopping mid-sentence when she entered a room. Deryth was often absent. He took meals in his study, met with advisors she never saw, disappeared for hours without explanation. When they did encounter each other, he was unfailingly courteous, asking after her comfort, ensuring she had everything she needed. But there was a wall between them made of all the things left unsaid. On the 4th morning, Naela found him in the library, hunched over a desk covered in old books and parchments. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, his usual commanding presence diminished. "You look ill," she said before she could stop herself. He glanced up, startled. "I didn't hear you come in. You should rest. Whatever you're working on, it can wait." "It can't." He closed the book he'd been reading with more force than necessary. "But I appreciate your concern." Naela moved closer, studying the texts on his desk. They were written in languages she didn't recognize, accompanied by illustrations of strange symbols and creatures. One drawing caught her eye, a wolf but larger than any natural animal with human eyes. "What is all this?" "Research." He began gathering the papers, clearly trying to hide them from her view. "Nothing that concerns you. I'm your wife. Even a contract wife. If something is troubling you." "Naela." He said her name like a warning. There are aspects of my life that you're better off not knowing. That was part of our agreement. You play your role, I play mine, and we don't dig into each other's secrets. It stung more than it should have. She turned to leave, but his voice stopped her. Wait. He sighed, running a hand through his dark hair. I'm sorry. That was unnecessarily harsh. You've been nothing but gracious since arriving, and I've been a poor host. You've been absent. Yes, I have. He stood, moving around the desk to face her properly. Join me for dinner tonight. A real dinner, not me hiding in my study like a coward. I owe you that much. That evening, they sat across from each other at the long dining table in the great hall. Servants brought course after course. Roasted venison, fresh bread, vegetables and butter, wine that tasted of summer berries. Deryth asked her about her life before, about her parents and her childhood, about the tavern where she'd worked. You loved your mother, he observed, watching her face as she spoke. I did. She was practical like me. She didn't believe in romantic nonsense. She used to say that women survived by being smarter than the men who underestimated them. She sounds like she would have approved of our arrangement. She would have thought I made the smart choice. Naela took a sip of wine. She also would have told me to be careful. That men with secrets are dangerous. Deryth's expression shifted, something almost like pain crossing his face. She would have been right. So tell me, what secrets are you hiding? I can't. Can't or won't. Both. He set down his fork, his food barely touched. If I tell you the truth, you'll leave. And I need you to stay. The contract says I have to stay. I gave my word. I don't want you bound by a contract. The intensity in his amber eyes made her breath catch. I want. He stopped himself, shaking his head. Never mind. It doesn't matter what I want. The moment stretched between them, charged with something Naela couldn't name. Then a servant entered, whispering urgently in Deryth's ear. His face darkened. I'm needed, he said, standing abruptly. I'm sorry. Please, finish your meal. He was gone before she could respond, leaving her alone in the vast hall with half-eaten food and more questions than answers. That night, Naela couldn't sleep. She stood at her window, looking out over the moonlit forest, and saw figures moving between the trees. They ran with impossible speed, their forms fluid and strange in the darkness. And then she saw it. One of the figures shifted mid-stride, its body contorting, growing, until it was no longer human at all but a massive wolf, gray and powerful. Her heart stopped. She watched as more figures transformed, a pack of wolves gathering in the clearing below. They moved with coordinated purpose, and at their center was one larger than the rest, its fur so dark it seemed to absorb the moonlight. It lifted its head and howled, and the sound raised every hair on Naela's body. When the wolf turned its head, she saw its eyes. Amber. Like Deryth's. Naela stumbled back from the window, her mind racing. It was impossible. It was madness. Werewolves were stories told to frighten children, not real things that existed in the world she knew. But she had seen it. She had seen them. The next morning she confronted him in his study, not caring that she was interrupting his work, not caring about propriety or their agreement. I saw, she said, her voice shaking. Last night. The wolves. You. Deryth went very still. Naela. Don't lie to me. I know what I saw. You're not human. None of you are. This whole castle, these people, they're all like you. He stood slowly, moving toward her with the careful grace of a predator. Yes. What are you? What do you think I am? A werewolf. The word felt absurd on her tongue, but there was no other explanation. You're a werewolf, and I married you without knowing it, and now I'm trapped in a castle full of monsters. Stop. His voice carried command, and she fell silent despite herself. We're not monsters. We're people who can shift into wolves. We've lived alongside humans for centuries, hiding in plain sight. The Northern Territories are one of the last strongholds where we can live freely. Chapter 4. Naela's legs wouldn't hold her anymore. She sank into the nearest chair, her mind struggling to accept what he was telling her. The contract. The marriage. You needed a human wife because I need someone who can love me without magic forcing them to. Deryth's voice was raw. As I'm cursed, Naela. And you're my only chance at breaking it. I don't understand. He knelt before her, bringing himself to eye level, his amber eyes searching hers. My father was a cruel man. He broke a sacred vow to a powerful witch, destroyed her family for political gain. Before she died, she cursed our bloodline. Any wolf of my father's blood who claims their fated mate will see the bond corrupt into something dark. Love will become obsession. Devotion will become possession. We'll destroy each other. Fated mate. Naela's voice came out as a whisper. In our world, every wolf has one person meant for them. A perfect match drawn together by magic and fate. The bond is everything. It's love and need and completion all at once. His jaw tightened. You're mine. The words hung in the air between them. Naela stood abruptly, putting distance between them. No, I don't believe in soulmates or fate or any of that. I told you from the beginning. I know. That's why I rejected the bond before you could feel it. She stopped, turning back to him. What? The moment I caught your scent in that tavern, I knew. Every instinct in my body screamed to claim you, to make you mine. But the curse. He closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. If I'd claimed you, the bond would have been corrupted. I would have become the very monster you just called me. So I rejected it. I cut the tie before it could form on your side. You're not making sense. If you rejected me, then why bring me here at all? Because the curse has a loophole. He opened his eyes, and the desperation in them made her chest ache. Only love freely given can break what was taken by force. If you could fall in love with me without fate's influence, without the magical bond forcing you, if you chose me of your own free will, the curse would break. That's why you needed the contract marriage. You were gambling that I'd. She couldn't finish the sentence. Yes. I brought you here under false pretenses. I lied to you about my reasons. I've been trying to court you, to give you reasons to care about me while keeping the truth hidden. His voice broke. I'm a coward and a manipulator, and you have every right to hate me for it. How long? Naela demanded. How long do you have? The rejection is killing me slowly. Maybe 6 months. Maybe less. Each day I feel weaker. The wolf inside fights the rejection, and it's tearing me apart. She thought of the times she'd seen him wince, the exhaustion he tried to hide, the way he sometimes gripped furniture as if to keep from collapsing. You're in pain. Constantly. It doesn't matter. Of course it matters. The anger came suddenly, overwhelming. You brought me into this without my knowledge. You built our entire relationship on lies. And now you're telling me that I'm supposed to fall in love with you to save your life? That's not romance, Deryth. That's manipulation. You're right. He didn't try to defend himself. But I didn't know what else to do. I was desperate, and you were so brave and fierce in that tavern, willing to do anything for your sister. I thought if I could just give you time, let you see who I really am without the mate bond influencing you, maybe. He shook his head. It was selfish. I'm sorry. Naela paced the room, her thoughts a tangled mess. Part of her wanted to run, to leave this castle and its secrets and never look back. But another part, the practical part her mother had raised, understood his impossible position. What would she have done in his place? What lengths would she have gone to for a chance at survival? I need time, she finally said. Time to process this. Time to figure out what I'm feeling versus what you want me to feel. Of course. Take all the time you need. And no more lies. If I'm going to stay here, and I haven't decided if I will, you need to be honest with me about everything. Your world, your pack, your curse. Everything. I promise. She moved toward the door, then paused. Deryth, why did you really help Talia? You could have found another desperate woman to marry. Why go to such lengths for me specifically? His answer was quiet. Because even before I knew you were my mate, I saw the way you loved your sister. Selflessly, completely, without hesitation. And I thought, if someone like that could choose to love me, it would be real. It would mean something. Naela left without responding, her heart too full of conflicting emotions to speak. Over the next week, Deryth kept his promise. He introduced her to his beta, Theron, a silver-haired man who watched her with calculating eyes. He showed her the pack lands, explaining the territories and the careful balance they maintained with neighboring human settlements. He taught her about wolf culture, the hierarchy, the bonds, the ancient laws they lived by. We're not so different from humans, he said one afternoon as they walked through the forest. We love, we fight, we build communities. We just have one more form to live in. Can I see? The question surprised them both. Can I see you change? Deryth studied her face. Are you sure? I need to know all of you. If I'm going to make any kind of decision about this. He nodded slowly. Then, in a movement more fluid than should have been possible, his body shifted. Bones reformed, fur sprouted, and within seconds a massive black wolf stood before her. His amber eyes were the same, watching her carefully, waiting for her reaction. Naela approached slowly, her heart pounding. When she was close enough, she reached out and touched his fur. It was softer than she expected, warm and thick. Chapter 5. The wolf, Deryth, leaned into her touch, a low rumble emanating from his chest that might have been a purr. Naela found herself smiling despite everything. There was something magnificent about him in this form, something wild and free that the human man kept carefully restrained. You're beautiful, she whispered. He shifted back, the transformation just as fluid as before, until Deryth knelt before her in human form once more. His expression was vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. You're not afraid. I'm terrified, she admitted. But not of what you are. I'm afraid of what will happen next. I'm afraid of making the wrong choice. Whatever you decide, I'll accept it. Even if you want to leave. The contract says. Damn the contract. His vehemence surprised her. I won't hold you prisoner here. If you want to go, I'll give you the dowry I promised and ensure you and your sister are cared for. I won't force you to watch me die just because I was foolish enough to hope. Something shifted in Naela's chest. This was the man beneath the Lord, beneath the Alpha. Someone scared and desperate and trying so hard to be honorable despite his impossible circumstances. I'm not leaving, she said. Not yet. I want to understand this world you've shown me. I want to know you without the lies between us. The hope that flared in his eyes was almost painful to witness. Over the following weeks, something changed between them. Without the pretense of the contract marriage hanging over everything, they began to build something genuine. Deryth told her stories about his childhood, about learning to shift for the first time and the terror of losing control. Naela shared memories of her mother, of the herbs they'd gathered together, of Talia's laugh before everything went wrong. They took meals together every evening. He taught her to play chess and she discovered she had a talent for strategy that made him laugh when she won. She began helping with the estate management, her practical mind quickly understanding the complexities of running a territory. The pack members started to warm to her, impressed by her competence and her refusal to be intimidated by their supernatural nature. You're not what I expected, Theron told her one morning, his tone more thoughtful than hostile. Most humans would have run screaming or tried to burn us out. But you adapted. I survived, Naela corrected. There's a difference. People like me don't have the luxury of falling apart when the world surprises us. She made a friend in Leora, a young wolf who worked in the kitchens. Leora was warm and genuine, sneaking Naela extra pastries and teaching her the pack gossip. They're all watching you and the Alpha, Leora whispered one afternoon, trying to figure out if you're really together or if it's just political. What do you think? I think he looks at you like you hung the moon. And I think you're starting to look back. Naela couldn't deny it. Despite everything, the lies, the manipulation, the impossible situation, she found herself caring about Deryth. She noticed the way his face lit up when she entered a room. She saw how hard he worked to protect his pack, making difficult decisions with a burden he never complained about. She felt something warm bloom in her chest when he laughed at her jokes, when he asked her opinion on matters of state, when he treated her as an equal rather than a possession. But she also saw him getting weaker. The rejection was taking its toll. Some mornings he could barely stand. His shifting became painful, his control more tenuous. The pack pretended not to notice, but she saw their worried glances, heard their hushed conversations. How much time? She asked him one night after he'd nearly collapsed at dinner. Naela. How much time, Deryth? 3 months. Maybe 4. He sagged into a chair. The pack healer says the rejection is accelerating. My body is fighting itself. Then we need to find another way to break the curse. There isn't one. The witch was very specific. Only love freely given. Then we need to find the witch's descendants. Get them to lift it. She had no descendants. My father killed her entire family. That's why she cursed us. Naela felt helpless fury rising in her throat. There has to be something. There is. He looked at her and she saw resignation in his amber eyes. You're the answer. But I won't ask you to love me on command. That's not how it works. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't. He shrugged, trying for casual and failing. Then at least I got to know you. That's more than I deserved. That night, Naela lay awake in her chambers, staring at the ceiling. The connecting door to Deryth's room, the one he'd never used without permission, seemed to call to her. She thought about his kindness, his respect for her boundaries, the way he'd kept every promise he'd made. She thought about how he made her laugh, how he valued her opinions, how he'd given her power in his household when most men would have kept her decorative and silent. She thought about the way her heart raced when he smiled at her. The way she'd started looking forward to their evenings together. The way she felt safe with him despite everything he could do, everything he was. Was it love? He didn't know. She'd never been in love before. But it was something. Something real and growing and terrifying in its intensity. The question was, did she trust it? Or was she just responding to his need, her own desperate desire to save someone the way she'd saved Talia? Before she could second-guess herself, she got up and knocked on the connecting door. Come in, Deryth's voice was strained. She found him sitting on the edge of his bed, shirt off, and she gasped. Dark veins spread across his chest like cracks in porcelain, pulsing with an unnatural light. The rejection was literally tearing him apart. Chapter 6. Deryth. Naela moved toward him without thinking, her hand reaching for the darkened veins spreading across his chest. Don't look at me like that. His voice was rough. I'm fine. You're dying. That's not fine. She knelt before him, her practical nature warring with emotions she didn't want to name. Why didn't you tell me it was this bad? Because I didn't want you to feel obligated. If you choose me, if you ever choose me, I need it to be because you want to, not because you pity me. I don't pity you. I'm furious with you for being so stubborn. She took his hand, feeling how cold his skin had become. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to help. You can't. Not unless. He trailed off, looking away. Unless I love you. I know. Naela sat back on her heels, frustration making her voice sharp. But how do I know what I'm feeling is real? How do I know I'm not just trying to save you because that's what I do? Save people I care about. I saved Talia. I'd save you if I could. But is that love or just duty? It doesn't matter. Of course it matters. The curse requires love freely given. If I'm forcing myself to feel something because you're dying, that's not free. That's coercion by circumstance. Deryth's laugh was bitter. You're right. Of course you're right. The curse has made sure there's no way to win. Either I claim you and the bond corrupts, or I reject you and die slowly, or you force yourself to love me and it doesn't count because it's not genuine. It's perfect, really. A punishment that ensures no happy ending. They sat in silence, the weight of impossible choices pressing down on both of them. Then Naela spoke, her voice quiet but firm. What if we're thinking about this wrong? The curse says love freely given can break it. But maybe it's not about romantic love at all. Maybe it's about choice. Free choice. She stood, pacing his room as ideas formed. Your father took by force. The witch cursed that force with corruption. But what if the answer is choosing without any force at all? No magical bonds, no desperation, no dying declarations. What if we just choose each other? As partners. As equals. That's what I've been trying to do. No, you've been trying to make me fall in love with you while dying. There's still coercion in that. The ticking clock, the guilt, the pressure. She turned to face him. What if we remove all of it? Keep the mate bond rejected. Build something real between us without any supernatural influence or deadline. Just two people choosing to be together because they want to be. I'll be dead in 3 months. Then we figure out how to extend that time. There has to be a way to slow the rejection's effects without claiming the bond. Hope and desperation warred in his expression. The healer might know something. But Naela, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm choosing. That's the whole point. She moved back to him, taking both his hands. I care about you, Deryth. I don't know if it's love yet, but it's something real. And I want to find out what it could become without all this pressure and magic and dying hanging over us. So we're going to find a way to buy time, and then we're going to figure this out properly. For the first time in weeks, Deryth smiled. A real smile that reached his eyes. You're remarkable, you know that? I'm practical. There's a difference. The next morning, they consulted with the pack healer, an ancient woman named Greta who'd been treating werewolf ailments for longer than anyone could remember. She examined Deryth with pursed lips, then turned her sharp gaze on Naela. You're the mate he rejected. Yes. Foolish boy. But there was no heat in the words. The rejection is indeed killing him. But there might be a way to slow it. It requires another to share the burden, to take on part of the rejection's pain. How? Naela demanded. A binding ritual. You'd be tied to him magically, able to siphon off some of the rejection's effects. It won't stop it entirely, but it could buy you months, maybe a year. Greta's expression turned grave. But there's a cost. You'd feel everything he feels. The pain of the rejection, the wolf's rage, the curse's corruption. And you'd be bound to the pack permanently. Even if he dies, you'll carry the mark of this bond. She's not doing that, Deryth said immediately. Absolutely not. Yes, I am. Naela met his glare with one of her own. We just agreed, choosing freely. This is my choice. You'd be permanently connected to a supernatural world you never asked to be part of. You'd feel my pain every day. That's not a choice, that's a sacrifice. Love is sacrifice. The words came out before she could stop them. My mother used to say that. Real love means choosing someone else's well-being over your own comfort. It means making hard choices because the alternative is worse. He turned to Greta. Do it. The ritual took place that night under a full moon. The pack gathered in a circle around them, their presence lending power to the magic. Greta chanted in a language Naela didn't understand, drawing symbols in the dirt with ash and herbs. When she cut both their palms and pressed them together, blood mixing blood, Naela felt something snap into place inside her chest. Pain exploded through her body. The rejection's agony, magnified and overwhelming. She gasped, her knees buckling, but Deryth caught her. I've got you, he whispered. I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Worth it, she managed through gritted teeth. I can handle it. Slowly the pain became bearable. Not gone, but manageable. A constant ache rather than acute agony. When she opened her eyes, she could feel Deryth in a way she never had before. His presence in her mind, his emotions bleeding into hers, the wolf inside him pacing and restless. Chapter 7. The weeks that followed were both easier and harder than Naela expected. The binding had indeed slowed Deryth's deterioration. The dark veins receded slightly, his strength returned enough for him to function normally. But Naela carried the weight now too. Some mornings she woke with phantom pains shooting through her chest. Some nights she felt the wolf's rage and had to remind herself it wasn't her own. But through it all they grew closer. The binding meant they couldn't hide from each other anymore. She felt his guilt over what he'd done to her, his fierce protectiveness, his growing affection that he tried so hard to contain. And he felt her determination, her stubborn courage, and something else. Something warm and tender that she was only beginning to acknowledge. You're falling for me, he said one evening as they sat in the library, her head resting on his shoulder. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just getting used to having you in my head. Liar. But he said it fondly, pressing a kiss to her hair. It was Theron who shattered their fragile peace. Naela had never fully trusted Deryth's beta. There was something calculating in the way he watched them, something cold in his smile. But she dismissed it as typical pack politics. Surely a beta would be loyal to his alpha. He was wrong. The attack came on a moonless night. Rival wolves from a neighboring territory breached their borders, striking with coordinated precision that spoke of insider knowledge. The pack mobilized immediately, Deryth leading the defense while Naela was rushed to safety by guards. But as the battle raged outside, Leora burst into Naela's chambers, blood on her dress and panic in her eyes. It's Theron, she gasped. He's been working with the rivals. He fed them information, told them when our defenses would be weakest. He wants Deryth dead. Why? He thinks a human mate, fated or chosen, will weaken the pack permanently. He's been poisoning opinions, gathering supporters. This attack is meant to finish what the rejection started. Cold fury flooded through Naela. Hers or Deryth's, she couldn't tell anymore. Where is he? Don't. Leora tried to stop her, but Naela was already running, following the binding that connected her to Deryth like a rope pulling her through the darkness. She found them in the courtyard. Deryth, already wounded from the battle, facing Theron across blood-soaked stones. Other wolves circled, uncertain who to support. "You're weak," Theron snarled. "You rejected your mate and then bound yourself to a human. You've made us vulnerable to every pack in the region. I'm doing what's necessary to protect our people. By betraying them, by inviting enemies into our home." Deryth's voice was steady despite his injuries. "That's not protection, Theron. That's ambition. It's survival. When you're dead, I'll lead them properly. No human weakness. No curse. Just strength." Naela stepped between them before she could second-guess herself. "If you want to kill him, you'll have to go through me first." No. Deryth reached for her, but she stood her ground. "I'm bound to him now," she said, addressing not just Theron but all the watching wolves. "His pain is mine. His curse is mine. If you think that makes him weak, then you don't understand what strength really is." She met Theron's cold gaze. "He rejected his fated mate bond to protect me from corruption. He's dying slowly to give me free choice. And I chose to share that burden because I believe in what he's building here. A pack where humans and wolves can coexist, where power doesn't mean crushing everyone beneath you." Pretty words from a human who knows nothing of our world. "I know enough." Naela's voice rang out clear and strong. "I know he's a better alpha than you'd ever be. I know he's earned his pack's loyalty through honor, not fear. And I know that I love him, not because magic told me to, not because I had to, but because I choose to. Every day with everything I am, I choose him." The words hung in the air like a bell's toll. Naela felt the truth of them resonating through the binding, felt Deryth's shock and hope and overwhelming love flooding back to her. And then something else. Something ancient and powerful, like a lock finally turning. Light exploded from Deryth's chest, pure and golden. The dark veins that had marked the rejection's corruption burned away like mist in sunlight. The curse, held in place for so long by stolen power and enforced fate, shattered under the weight of freely given, wholly chosen love. Deryth gasped, falling to his knees, and Naela caught him. Through the binding, she felt the curse break, felt the wolf inside him settle into peace, felt the rejection's pain dissolve like it had never been. "It worked," he breathed. "You broke it." "We broke it," she corrected. "Together. Through choice." Theron stood frozen, his coup collapsing around him. The pack, witnessing the curse's breaking, turned on him with growls and snarls. He'd betrayed them all, and now he had nothing to show for it. "Get him out of my sight," Deryth said, his voice stronger than it had been in months. "Exile. He's no longer welcome in these territories." As guards dragged Theron away, Deryth pulled Naela close, his forehead resting against hers. "I love you. Gods, I love you so much." "I know. I feel it." She smiled through tears she hadn't realized she was crying. "I love you too. Freely, completely, without any magic forcing me. Just choice." He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promises. Around them, the pack celebrated, howling their joy at their alpha's salvation, at the curse's breaking, at the human woman who'd proven stronger than any magic. Later, much later, as they stood together watching the sunrise, Naela thought about her mother's words. Love is sacrifice. Love is choice. And she'd made the hardest, best choice of her life. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we build our life together. For real this time. No contracts, no curses, no lies. Just us." "Just us," she agreed and kissed him as the sun painted the sky gold, marking the first day of their forever freely chosen. So what would you have done in Naela's position? Would you have accepted the binding ritual to save Deryth? Or would you have walked away to protect yourself? Drop your answer in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us what country you're watching from. We love seeing our pack expand across the globe. If you enjoyed this story of curses, choices, and love that defies destiny, smash that like button and subscribe for more werewolf romance tales. Your support helps us create more stories like this one. Thank you for being part of our pack, and until next time, remember, the most powerful magic is always the choice to love freely.